Hello, everybody. This is Chris Profi, Musically Obsessed, and welcome to another installment of CD Vinyl Guys. And got my friend Brendon Snyder over here next to me.
Guys,
Now, here's the dealio. We have done CD Vinyl Guys episodes on Brendon's channel. So definitely head on over to Brendon's channel. I'll leave the link to his channel below. He does great videos, CD reviews, and music weekly reviews. So if you are into hard rock, heavy metal, if you want to listen to somebody who's very knowledgeable about music, please head on over to Brendon Snyder's channel. And like I said, I'll leave the link below. Now, he and I have been collaborating. We've done a couple videos in his channel. This is the first one for my channel. So anybody who is new to Brendon, I think you're really going to like our collaboration. And like I said, we've got a lot of things planned. And but tonight, something very special. We are talking about Alice Cooper's new album called Detroit Stories. And I know that I've had a couple people who watch my channel already wondering about, hey, like, what does the vinyl look like? And are there any special things with the CD release? And so I figured the first thing we can do is we can kind of talk about what the CD looks like versus the vinyl. So Brendon, I don't know if you want to start maybe showing us with the CD.
yeah, sure. So I got the deluxe edition box of this, and I'll pull the CD that comes with the CD, of course, inside, and I'll show you that in a minute, which you can buy a standard CD on it. But it's just a lift top box of itself, nothing on the back side of it here, and just pops right off there. Now, I'm actually wearing the shirt. Let me show you that real quick. This comes inside it. So you do get a shirt. And I have a lot of questions asking size of shirt and how do you pick it. Unfortunately, it's one size. It's an extra large, and that's the only way I saw it come. But it's a fantastic shirt. So yeah, CD comes in here. Came with a DVD. So if you bought the last live album that he did, which is A Paranormal Evening with Alice Cooper, live at the Olympia in Paris, there was no Blu-ray or video for it. So he's releasing it as part of this. So it's not just throwing in something that has already been out there kind of a thing. So you get a full Blu-ray, and then you get some other cool little goodies in here. In particular, you get a mask for protecting yourself and staying safe during COVID. So kind of cool. And it does fit me. I'm a 6'2" guy. So if it fits me, it'll fit you.
I didn't realize you were 6'2". Okay.
Yeah.
I'm only 5'11", but.
So yeah, I mean, that's always my thing. It's like, will the shirt, will the stuff fit me? And of course you get a couple cool stickers in here, get the Alice size. But here's the thing that I really liked about this. I don't even know what to call this thing. It's it does say Detroit Stories on it, if I can get it in there.
I would call it like a laser, maybe.
Laser, yeah. So let me show you guys what this is. If I can get this as if it to appear. It's not showing.
Oh, there you go. I see the eyes. Yeah.
There we go.
Oh, there we go.
Just had to pull it away. So yeah, like it's like a laser, but at the same time, it's showing Alice Cooper's eyes, the same thing that's on the front of the box. So, when I heard that it came with that, it just was, all for me. And never actually had my cat sit next to me in a video. And of course, he's going to be a nut right now, but he loves this. So if you've got a cat, your cat is going to love it. And that's kind of why he's crazy at the moment. He wants to play with it. So.
That's awesome. Well, just looking at that, I'm like, okay, I might need to pick up that CD release because there's a lot of extra goodies in there.
Yeah, I picked it up mainly for the Blu-ray that comes with it. One, really liking the show, but two, just getting that. I mean, that's a $20 item right there, right?
Yeah.
And the CD, which I didn't really thumb through to show you, but so you can also, if you don't want all the goodies in it, the CD they do sell a CD Blu-ray combo package.
Okay. All right.
And they also sell the standalone disc like this. So you get that, but that's $10. The Blu-ray's $20, and you throw the extra little goodies in it. The box was $42.
That's a good deal.
Yeah, right. So
well, and here's the thing too. Like I don't,
a shirt's $20, so you're already getting more than it's worth.
Yeah, and for myself, like I don't usually buy like the CD and vinyl.
Mm-hmm.
Spoiler alert: I like this album So I might have to get the CD too.
Yeah. Well, and bonus being that if you get this edition that comes with the added stuff, then you're not so much duplicating it just for music's sake. You are getting the other stuff in it.
Well, I will walk you guys through the vinyl release. Now, here's the thing with the vinyl. You don't get any goodies, but you do get some cool stuff. And it does not come with a Blaze Bailey t-shirt. But I figured I would wear the Blaze Bailey t-shirt tonight just because I like Blaze.
Throwing some love for Blaze, man.
Well, listen, yeah, I pre-ordered his new album, which comes out in, I want to say May. So, yeah, I had to give some love to Blaze. All right, so got a vinyl release. Now, again, of course, with the vinyl, it's a little bit bigger, so the artwork kind of pops out a little bit more. Mm-hmm. This is what the back looks like. It's a double record, gatefold.
Very cool.
And
yeah, I like the gatefold. You don't get the gatefold on the CD version. That's not inside the booklet or anything. So that is a bonus there.
Right. And there are custom inner sleeves on both sides with lyrics, liner notes. So any of you vinyl nerds out there, you can read the lyrics as you are listening to the music. And I say vinyl nerds because I'm a vinyl nerd as well. So, I think and I'm a vinyl nerd. What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say, well, I pull out the booklet and read the lyrics too for the CD version too. So
right, exactly. Now here's the thing: we don't have a mask in the vinyl version, but we've got red vinyl.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
And both albums,
are they both red?
Yeah.
They're both
red. And they did a very nice job packaging this album, and it looks like they did a nice job with the CD as well. Sometimes with releases lately, people have been a little upset, like maybe the imagery wasn't very sharp on the picture, or the vinyl didn't sound right, or maybe they wish they included this, that, the other thing. But it seems like these guys did it right with both the CD and the vinyl release.
I would agree with you on that. I mean, there's deluxe packagings and things that get done that seem to just be cash grabs.
Right.
And in this particular case, it does not seem like that. It really seems like Alice Cooper and his team behind this really put some thought and some energy into it. I mean, just the laser, the flashlight thing alone, tying in with the album art. I mean, I'm curious, did the album art come after the idea or before the idea, and somebody said, hey, why don't we make a light that actually produces that? But to me, it's just great marketing and a really fun thing for us fans that like to get a little something extra, with our music. To me, it has made this album more of an event, and we're going to get into that in a little bit, talking about why this album is that.
Right. And you're exactly right, because I know when I was talking to you about this before, you're like, okay, do I really need a laser? But like you opened it and you're like, man, this is cool. Like, and then your cat is digging it. And I don't know, we're older guys, but I guess we still get into lasers sometimes. It's fun.
I still get into this stuff like I was a little kid. I agree. I mean, I did not think I was going to be into this thing, and I opened the packaging and it just put a big grin on my face.
Yeah.
Right from the start of seeing this shirt with Alice on, the front of this car here. I'm not a car buff, but I'm sure somebody can recognize what that is. He collects old classic cars.
Yeah.
One of his particular ones. And it's like seeing him, doing that and then pulling through all the other stuff. Once I got to the laser part of it and I saw what it did, and it was so much better than I anticipated it being.
Right.
I thought it'd be all kind of blurry and everything, but it's actually really quite crisp and clear.
That's really cool. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the history of this album. Well, first of all, I want to say Alice Cooper is 73 years old, and he has not lost a beat. I mean, his voice, like, you could put on like Killers and he sounds the same.
Right.
It's amazing.
Right. He had a gravelly voice to start. He still has one, but it's almost as though he's gotten better with age.
Yeah.
Cool thing is like with some musicians who age and get the wrinkles, you get whatever, kind of a thing. It's like, to me, it has only enhanced that look of Alice, with the black makeup. Yeah, it's just right. Alice has been able to pull off the imagery of the Alice character for the entire career. 52 years he's been doing this.
Right.
It's written in 1969.
And you're exactly right. And reading some of the reviews, I think Rolling Stone actually said that they like the fact that Alice Cooper sort of never took himself too seriously.
Right.
Alice Cooper knows what he is. He is a performer. He is one of those
He's
people
a showman.
started shock rock. He's a showman.
Yeah.
And he does rock and roll. So he knows what his place is. And he basically doesn't take himself too seriously, and he just puts on a good show.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, he's always tongue in cheek with it too, about what is Alice. And I like that he talks about Alice in the third person, because it's a character.
Right.
He is not Alice until he steps on stage, and then he personifies that. But he doesn't want, it's not him.
Right.
He gets on there, like you said, as a performer. He's an actor.
Right.
And he performs that character doing what he does best, the rock and roll and everything.
And I think what's cool about that is, like, when you go to a concert, like, you don't want to see just guys who look like they just got off the streets and got up there and played their guitar. Like, you see a show, and this is why bands like Kiss and Alice Cooper and Slipknot and all these bands that really get into it, War.
Yeah. War.
Like, people want to see something that is going to surprise you and shock you and be a show for you.
Right, exactly. I mean, it's the Broadway for us hard rock and metal fans,
right.
Like an Alice Cooper show.
Right.
The different costume changes, the props, everything that he does. It's just, to me, really fascinating to have a musician, as you said, not someone who comes out, stares at the shoes,
right.
Wearing the same street clothes we wear, kind of a thing. I want to see someone get up in an amazing costume and outfit and put on a show, kind of a thing.
Right. And Alice still does that. So let's get into some of the nuts and bolts of this album. The title is Detroit Stories. So this is basically an homage to Detroit. And this is Alice's 21st solo album. It's his 28th album overall, which is pretty amazing. It's produced by the great Bob Ezrin, who also produced 2017's Paranormal. And what's cool about this too, and I know he did a couple tracks on Paranormal with the Reunited Alice Cooper Band.
Yeah.
But the Reunited Alice Cooper Band plays on this album as well. Plus, they have a lot of different Detroit musicians who show up on this recording as well.
Well, I'll just point out real quick that those songs that he recorded with the Alice Cooper Band was only on the 2-disc edition, and they were the 2 tracks on the bonus disc. So if you just bought the single disc, you never got the Reunited Cooper. So he put those 2 collaborations as a bonus to the deluxe edition. So if you are, checking this out and you're surprised, you're like, oh my God, he's reunited on some tracks. Yep. You can go back and pick this one up and get a couple more.
And I tell you what, guys, Brendon does such great reviews that I'm going to give you a little hint or a secret here. I actually watched Brendon's review of this album to make sure that I was saying all the right information. Okay. I learned, because I didn't know this. I for whatever reason, this other release I'm going to talk about sort of slipped past me. The Breadcrumbs EP. And I can see it behind Brendon there. What I learned from Brendon's channel is that 4 of the tracks that are on the Breadcrumbs EP show up on here. So Brendon, I don't know if you want to show that and just talk about that for a second.
Yeah. Well, because we are CD vinyl guys, and I'm predominantly a CD person, but I did think I'd pull out and show you guys my vinyl one as well, just with the bigger art on it. I know I got a bunch of questions about this, and this is Japanese only. So if you are like me and want a CD, you got to go to Japan. And this was Record Store Day only release, which is why most people don't know about it.
So that's probably hard to get, I would assume, by this point.
Yeah, you can't go to your store or go online to get it. You'd have to go to eBay and probably pay a bit more than it was, selling for at the time, kind of a thing. Right. Yeah, it's cool. 2-sided. They invert the black and red from the 2 sides on it. Just black vinyl on this.
Nice.
did it in white, but a 10-inch, which I found interesting, as opposed to doing it as standard 12-inch kind of a thing. And so yeah,
Right.
6 tracks are on here, and it's got Detroit City, a 2020 version, and then Go Man Go, and
Okay.
East Side Story, which is the Bob Seger cover that he
Yep.
does. And interesting for those of you that don't know, Detroit City is actually a redo of an Alice Cooper song from 2003 off Eyes of Alice Cooper, but he updates it. So even if you got that one, he added even more Detroit references to this one, which is why it's got the new, at least on here, the 2020, but it appears as 2021 on the CD.
Right.
And then Your Mama Won't Like Me, which does not appear on Detroit Stories. So if you do get the Breadcrumbs, you're still getting 2 tracks on here that don't appear over on the new album. Devil with a Blue Dress On, mixed with with Chains of Love, and then Sister Ann, and Sister Ann also appears on the new one. But yeah.
So I know what I'm doing after this video. I am ordering Breadcrumbs on either eBay or Discogs, and I'm also looking for the CD release of Detroit Stories. So I'm probably not going to be the only one after this video. Those look really cool. So listen, okay, so I said that Bob Ezrin produced this album. Now, Alice Cooper, when he first started out, he came out with a couple albums on Frank Zappa's label. Pretty's For You, which I believe was his first album.
Yep, first album.
Zappa label. And then Easy Action. I don't know if this was on the Zappa label as well.
Yeah, both of these.
Okay. So my point with this is that Alice Cooper really hadn't found his sound yet. He was still sort of toying with the whole psychedelic San Francisco thing, and he hadn't found his sound.
Right. These are very much in the style of, like you said, 60s psychedelia style. He had not gotten to the hard rock and start of the shock rock stuff, really. The tongue-in-cheek of his lyrics are still in this. Very primitive as he's starting out, but it's there.
Right. Now, I don't know how he hooked up originally with Bob Ezrin, but Bob Ezrin was able to get the Alice Cooper sound on the album Love It to Death, which came out in 1971. So I know that Ezrin produced Paranormal as well, but I almost feel like this is like, coming full circle from 1971 to this album, because also there's that Detroit connection where I believe that Bob Ezrin met Alice Cooper in the Detroit area, I want to say.
Right, exactly. In the early days, yeah, they met, and that's part of how they hooked up for that album, kind of a thing. But yeah, I see this album, Detroit Stories, is like a full circle for him. It's that return to that garage rock, hard rock sound. It's not overproduced. But for me, the cool part of this is, it's not just a title. It's like a concept and a theme, in the sense that they went to Detroit to record it. They used all Detroit musicians. And so they brought in a lot of really cool guys that, are from back in the day, from the MC5. They've got Sister Sledge, vocalist singing background on this.
They do a Bob Seger tune.
Yeah, right. Bob Seger. And he talked about that too, saying like, any given night, it could be him, Bob Seger, the MC5, the Detroit Wheels, like all playing a show together, kind of a thing. So getting those guys back in. Mark Forner is on this.
Yep.
From Grand Funk Railroad. A lot of cool musicians are guesting on this. And of course, the biggest thing being that the reunited Alice Cooper, the 4 remaining members, written together. So this is also like, he didn't just have them come in and record some guitar parts on these. They wrote together on this. One of the songs on here, I Hate You, they all 4 take lead vocals on it. And the cool thing about it is they actually sing about each other. It's I Hate You, and one of the guys sings about Neil Smith, and the other, someone else sings about Alice. Really, really cool. And then at the end, they sing a verse about Glenn Buxton, who's no longer with us.
Yeah, and you know what? I kind of going along with what you're saying. Sometimes when you try to do too much in an album, it doesn't work, because it's like, oh, we're trying to fit all these musicians in, we're trying to fit all these ideas in, we got to get the theme of Detroit through every song, and
Right.
sometimes it's just too much. But I feel like this has a good balance. I don't think it doesn't ever sound like too much, or like they push the envelope too far. I feel like if the album flows very well, and it just seems like, and this is probably Bob Ezrin's magic,
Mm-hmm.
he was able to take all of these elements and have a concise record that doesn't sound too crazy or too busy.
I would totally agree with that. I thought when I first heard that it was about Detroit, in Detroit, Detroit music, like all of that sort
Right.
of stuff, I kind of thought it was going to be a
Right.
very singular style, lyrically, like everything. And it's like this has, garage rock, hard rock. It's got some soul and R&B. It's got a blues song on it. What I also found interesting is, Alice Cooper, I don't know at what point, but he always has that signature ballad that's very close to what is it, Ballad of Dwight Fry, or I can't remember which one it is, but or Only Women Bleed. Sorry. So he's always kind of redoing that. Well, this album has no ballads. It's got a blues track on it instead. So he was mixing things up even in that.
Right. And kind of to piggyback on something you had said before, I like the sound of this whole album. I get a vibe that they basically went in the studio, press record. I mean, obviously there were overdubs and things like that, but it has sort of a live feel to it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's got a vibrance to it. And you can just tell everybody had a lot of fun making this. I would love to have been in the studio when they were doing this, because you just had a bunch of musicians who were loving what they were doing. Mm-hmm. And it comes through on the album.
I agree. I found the album to be, the sound of it to be really energetic.
Yeah.
Putting it on, it made me feel excited about it as well. Each of the tracks and the energy behind it. But
right.
52 years into his career at 73 years old, and he sounds like he's having fun,
Yeah. And to tell you the truth, I didn't know what to expect from this album. I was like, okay, another Alice Cooper record. I mean, I like Alice Cooper, but I'm like, all right, this guy's getting kind of long in the tooth here. What do we,
right.
What do we got? What does he have left to prove, right? How many guillotines do we need to slam down on the stage? But he has shown us that he can still rock and still make something, topical and, something that we want to listen to.
Yeah, he is definitely, in my opinion, and I suppose maybe some of the younger people out there in the pop world may totally disagree with me, but I think he's still totally relevant.
Yeah.
At least in the hard rock world. I mean, all the other bands that are out there, Motley Crue, Guns N' Roses, will all speak extremely highly of Alice Cooper. I mean, first of all, he's just a super intelligent guy, well-spoken, of good character, like all that sort of stuff. Then you mix in with that he's a great performer, songwriter, the reinvention that he does for himself on all these different albums. I mean, kind of hard pressed to say that Alice has really ever made two of the same album. Right. What comes to my mind is maybe, 89 Trash and 1991's Hey Stupid were kind of clones of each other because they were really trying to capitalize on it. But even then we could dive into that and talk about the differences and stuff. And he goes back and he revisits sounds and things like that. But every time there's something, I mean, he's made a concept album, which featured Slash heavily. He's had Slash guests numerous times on his albums, but it's like, he's just always trying something different.
And I think, and we're going to get into some of the songs here in a second, but I think that's why nothing is really a surprise to me when I hear some of these songs and the different genres and stuff. Because like you said, Alice Cooper's kind of done a little bit of everything. He did the 80s hard rock. He did the, concept record. He played with punk music. He did some electronic stuff. So he's kind of been all over the map, movie songs and, everything. So, when we hear Motown vocals for, we're not surprised because
I wasn't shocked.
Yeah. I have Flush the Fashion back here. And if anybody knows that album, you know what I'm talking about. Like Alice Cooper has taken some chances in his recording career. So I thought Brendan and I were thinking maybe we'll, instead of going track by track, because, you all can listen to these songs and kind of formulate your own opinion, but we kind of wanted to share maybe a few tracks that stood out for us. So Brendan, I don't know if you want to go first.
Yeah, I just, I mean, first off, I think the opening track alone really grabs and pulls you in, kind of a thing. I knew off the bat that this was the Lou Reed cover.
Right.
He does, I think it's 3 covers on this album.
Yes, he does. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is one of them. And I was a little hesitant about the cover songs, thinking I really just want, newly written Alice kind of stuff. But he does a great job with this song. And for me, it just pulls me in on it. And I think it's got a very classic 70s Alice Cooper sound to it. So for me, it was a great one to start with.
Oh, definitely. And anybody who's a Lou Reed fan, the song, and you guys know the song Rock and Roll, Alice does a great job with it. It's almost kind of like he wrote it. So he kind of puts a different spin on it. But it also goes to show you how good of a writer Lou Reed was, too.
Yeah.
But like you said, it's a great opener. And you know what? I'm going to go. I'm actually going to go with the last song. So
Okay.
bookends. Yeah, the bookends of this album. Now, this was new to me because the song is called East Side Story.
Right.
And I thought it was Bob Seger. I'm like, okay, I probably heard this song before. But I had not heard this song before. But I guess looking at some research here, it was originally done by Bob Seger in The Last Herd. It's one of his early bands. This was recorded in 1966 originally, the original song. So this was pre, Bob Seger fame. And it reached number 3 in the Detroit charts. So it was a big local hit. But this song is killer. Like, it just has that Louie Louie vibe to it, just early rock and roll, garage rock, whatever you want to call it. And it kind of made me think I need to get some early Bob Seger because Alice Cooper sold it for me on that song.
Yeah, the early Bob Seger and the System albums that he did, he did fewer of those in, I think, the late 60s, 69 period and early 70s. Definitely worth checking out. But I don't know if East Side Story is on this, but Bob Seger just recently re-released demos from Bob Seger and the Herd. So there's an album out there, and I know they were recorded in 66. I'll have to dig into that and see if that's actually where that appears. Interestingly, I know the song because other people have covered it. And so I didn't immediately know it was a Bob Seger tune. I thought it was, other people kind of a thing. So
I had never heard the song before. So
yeah, great track though.
Yeah. I don't know what else, anything else stand out to you, kind of scream out to you on this album?
Yeah, well, I think it was kind of roughly the first single off of this, Social Debris. I thought was a really good track on here. And he'd released a couple. I mean, first of all, I knew 4 of the tracks already coming from this. So that's why I say sort of first single, but I knew a bunch of other stuff. But Social Debris, I just really liked. And that's one of the ones that's recorded with the original Alice Cooper band on it. But it's typical traditional Alice Cooper, just a good hard rock song that as I kind of with all of these, I find that they're all a little different in style from one to the other. So to me, that's also why I really like this record. There's 15 tracks on it, but I don't get bored in it.
No.
Each one is a little different. Some have, bigger differences to it, but there's a lot of peaks and valleys with this album. Some real high peaks, and then it kind of comes down and gets a little bit of a lull in there, and then it kicks up again, kind of a thing. And that's sort of what happens between, because track 1 was Rock and Roll, and this is track 4, Social Debris on it. But I really liked it, and that was the one I really kind of knew going into this, that when I was getting it, was thinking like, okay, lead single kind of a thing on it.
Right.
But the next track number 5, called $1,000 High Heel Shoes. That's the one that's got, or one of the ones that's got Sister Sledge, the 3 female vocalists doing the background, and they're really kind of doo-wopping it up.
I was just going to mention that. That's where that R&B Motown vibe comes out on that song. Yeah,
really, really does. But for some reason it works. Initially heard, I'll say, so the first time I listened to the album, I was like, wow, there's a lot of different, changes and things. And he's doing blues, he's doing R&B, he's doing, hard rock. Like, how's this all going to work? But by the time I got to the end of the album, I was ready to start it over. And the second listen that I went through it, it just all kind of clicked. So it's one of those ones
Definitely.
that I think takes more than one listen, but it takes more than one listen in a good way, like that you keep
Right.
um, discovering more about it. And this is one of the songs that I initially didn't particularly care for.
Mhm.
And I've probably listened to this album about 10 times now. So I've
Right.
really kind of dived into it. And it's one of the ones I look forward to now on it.
Yeah, and I have a little note next to that song, $1,000 High Heel Shoes. I basically wrote here, Alice showing off vocal abilities. And I feel like I could have written that for a couple of songs on here because
Uh-huh.
Alice did some different things with his voice on here. And it just goes to show me as a singer myself that he still has the chops and he's still trying things with his voice. And he can still sing. Like he can do that gravelly, growly Alice Cooper thing.
Mhm.
He can also really sing. And,
Yeah,
so that was one of the songs he did it in.
definitely.
This is kind of interesting. And this is for any Cyndi Lauper fans out there. I am personally a Cyndi Lauper fan.
Yeah, me too. So bring it.
Alice has a song on here called Hail Mary. And it's
Yes.
actually the song that follows $1,000 High Heel Shoes. Listen to the guitar riff because it sounds just like She Bop.
Oh,
And
I'll
so
have to go back and check that now.
yeah, anybody who's listening to this album or listens to it after this, listen to the song Hail Mary. It sounds exactly like She Bop. And I want to know if they, just,
Is it inspired or just
yeah,
coincidental?
what,
Yeah.
or did they just come up with that riff and it just happens to sound like She Bop? But regardless, it's a great song. And there's also, it's one of the songs where there's some gang vocals on it and they're like just basically chanting Hail Mary. It's just a great song. And again, it's got another 70s Alice Cooper vibe. So, it's nice because he does have some of those traditional Alice Cooper songs, but then, like we said, he's got some sort of the Motown, some of the blues. There was also another song in here. Forgive me, I'm just looking through my notes here.
Sure.
Oh yeah, the song "Wonderful World."
Oh, yeah.
It opens up with like electronic 80s drums, and then that kind of carries it through. So that's a whole different vibe, and that comes towards the later in the album. It's tucked in later in the album.
Yeah, it's track number 11 on here. And I was listening
Yeah,
to it just earlier today, and it starts slow, and you kind of think it's going to be a ballad,
yeah,
but it's not. It kicks in, and it's an interesting point that you make there with the way that it starts. By the time the chorus comes in on it, it's really a different song,
right.
and it just grows. But yeah, that's another one that again I wasn't too sure about. But again, on repeated listens on this, I'm finding that even the ones I wasn't sure on are now becoming favorites of mine.
And I always like to tell people what songs remind me of. Like I told you guys, it reminded me of She Bop, that other song.
Right.
This song, Wonderful World, could have been off of Iggy Pop's album, The Idiot. It just has that Iggy Pop vibe.
Yeah. Yeah.
So people out there, listen to us, what we're saying. We've mentioned tonight Iggy Pop. We've mentioned Motown. We've mentioned R&B. We've mentioned electronic music. We've mentioned the blues. Like this album covers everything. So if you are a music junkie,
Mhm.
you're going to find something in this album that you like. And it, like Brendon was saying, it's going to get repeated spins on your turntable, or it's going to get repeated spins in your CD player, whatever you're playing. I don't think it's available on 8-track.
Not yet, at least.
Yeah, but you're going to hear something different every time you listen to it. It's a very, very interesting album.
And I will preference that too with saying that while it has all these diversity in it, and you mentioned it earlier about Bob Ezrin, it's
Yeah,
definitely pulled in under the Alice Cooper banner. So,
right,
everyone will have to listen to this and come to their own conclusion. But it's not that it's so all over the place that it doesn't sound like Alice Cooper. It's
right,
Alice Cooper with these flares of these different R&B, blues,
right.
hard rock, garage rock, punk, all that stuff mixed into it.
Yeah,
But
it's done tastefully. And I'm glad you mentioned punk because the second song, Go Man Go,
mhm.
basically it sounds like it could have been a Ramones song. It's just got that great guitar riff to it. That's a real this album opens up very strong with the Lou Reed cover.
Yep.
You get Go Man Go, and you're just off and running. You're going to be on a cool trip with this album.
What do you think of the third track that's on here? Our Love Will Change the World. Do you
Yeah, that had like a
recognize?
60s pop vibe to it.
Yeah, It's very, very like 60s pop. But what I found most interesting is, and I don't know if it's children singing in the background or female vocals doing this, but it sounds like Alice is duetting with a children's choir. It's way in the
Yeah.
back. So it's
Yep.
not, right out there, but it's like, it's a very, very interesting vocal style for this particular song. And again, it's just one of those ones. It's like you start off with the Lou Reed, you go right into this, which is a 70s hard rock style song. You go into a
Yep.
punk song for Go Man Go, and then you
Yep.
go into this like 60s pop style for Our Love Will Change the World, followed into some more traditional later era Alice Cooper on Social Debris,
Yep.
into this R&B song, $1,000 High Heel Shoes, right back into the hard rock for Hail Mary. So it's like,
Yep.
and that's what I was talking about, those sort of peaks and valleys that this thing has. And it's a little different on every track.
Right.
Part of it too, I thought, 15 tracks, was I going to get worn out or tired before
Right.
the end? And I don't. I
Yeah.
listened to the thing all the way through.
But and when you were saying the background singers on that song, "Our Love Will Change the World," I'm just looking in the liner notes here. I guess the background vocalists are Cheryl Cooper, Calico Cooper. Now, is Cheryl Cooper his wife or?
Cheryl's the wife, Calico's the daughter.
Okay, so this is a family affair as well then.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Calico is on stage with him playing the nurse.
Oh,
You know,
okay.
and, playing that role now, which Cheryl, his wife, used to do,
Yeah.
and then stopped, and then the daughter took it over. So
That is so funny. Like, hey kids, come on stage. Let's chop each other up and do some horror stuff together.
Well, they've interviewed Calico Cooper, his daughter, and that's exactly what she said. She was like, what kid has not wanted to put their dad in a guillotine and cut his head off? She was like, when my dad asked me if I wanted to do that, she was like, absolutely. And then, of course, she says, her mom used to do it in the 70s or 80s kind of a thing. And just being able to continue that on.
And that just goes to show you that they don't take this seriously. It's fun for them. It's an act, and it's cool that the whole family sort of takes part in it.
Yeah, I agree completely. It shows you the character of Alice Cooper himself.
Right, like, hey, who's gonna chop off Dad's head tonight?
Yeah, exactly.
They're like eating dinner at night, and they're like, "You pass the mashed potatoes." Oh yeah, by the way, who's chopping Dad's head off tomorrow? So,
right.
Another song I want to talk about, and I don't want to like talk about we're like, oh, we're not going to talk about every song, but now we're talking about every song. But
they're that good, yeah.
There's so many great songs. I want to talk about the song "Hanging by a Thread."
Oh yes, absolutely.
Now this song had sort of here's another genre. This song has sort of a '90s grunge vibe to it.
Yeah.
It's a song about suicide prevention, but I feel like it could have been like a song about the pandemic as well. I mean, those lyrics could apply to that as well, unless I'm reading into this wrong.
You're doing it in reverse.
Am I doing it in reverse? Okay.
During the pandemic and the lockdown, he released the song
Oh, okay.
format without the suicide aspect to it.
Oh, and then he added that later.
He added that later. So there's a 2.5-minute version of this song in a music video.
Okay.
He asked fans to record holding signs of the lyrics and different things like that. And he created essentially a socially distant video for it, but about the pandemic. And you're absolutely right. The lyrics are about that. But he said it was adapted. He had written the song already, and he adapted it for the pandemic. And then following this, he's now turned it into the full song. And so if you guys know that song, as I said, it's a 2.5-minute version. There's no guitar solo in the one that was released during the pandemic. He's embellished it now. It's a full-on track. I think it's 3.5 minutes, kind of a thing. But yeah, I found it interesting because it could go either way.
Right.
It's really not till the very end that he actually says, hey, this is Alice Cooper in Detroit. If you're feeling, I don't know quite how he says, but suicidal, call the suicide number hotline, and it gives the number.
Right.
I just thought that was really great. I would have liked, though, for that to be the very last track on the album.
Yeah, that would have been cool.
Because there's 2 more tracks that come after that, but
and I like the keyboard in that song. I also like how Alice is he does like a recitation sort of thing. He's just talking in the beginning of it before it gets into the song, and I think it adds a cool element to it.
It It really does. It builds and builds, and it's I'm not usually a big fan of someone doing that, talking a
Right.
song,
Right.
but it works perfectly for this. He just has the heart and emotion and the empathy, the feeling of what everyone was going through. Of course, I connected back to the pandemic because that's the first I heard it, kind of a
Right.
thing. I think I will always really listen to it first that way. And hearing that thing that he says, we're all going through this. This is hard,
Mhm.
but we are strong. We rise up. And he says you're not alone. You can get help, like all that sort of stuff, which works both ways. But every time I hear it, I'm like, man, that was cool to get someone like Alice Cooper saying that at the
Right.
time during the height of all of this sort of stuff. And, knowing that, yeah, we are banding together. There are people there for you and that kind of stuff. I think that was a really, really big thing for him to do.
Definitely. Yeah. I think it was really cool. I like your idea though about, ending the album with that
Mhm.
would have been kind of a cool thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I always kind of wonder. I mean, I'm a big, I don't know, a fan, but I definitely always think about album sequencing
Yeah.
and listening to things. I'm like, what if that track had moved here? Why did they choose to put it where they put it? Kind of a thing.
I guess the only thing I'm thinking though, maybe if you ended on like a suicide note, it's sort of like, oh man, like that was
Downer.
like, let's be a Debbie Downer, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
But the following track that's on it is called "Shut Up and Rock."
right.
Well, I also he does the suicide prevention and the thought provoking. We're here for
Yeah,
you, caring, and then after it, it's like "Shut Up and Rock," man.
exactly.
You know?
And I wrote a little note next to that song. I said this could have been an 80s hit. So
Oh yeah.
for releasing the song Shut Up and Rock in 1986,
Hmm.
it gone to the top of the charts.
I think so too. There are
Just
so
saying.
many tracks that are on this thing that had they been released either during the '70s heyday or
Yep.
his sort of revitalization in the late '80s, very early '90s, I think would have been hits. And to me, it's like there's a lot of people that only want the Alice Cooper of the '70s, the original band Alice Cooper, or they're like me, where I grew up with him in the late '80s and early '90s. And so I grew up knowing Trash. I was my first Alice
Right.
Cooper, you know, uh, new album that I'd got, that he'd put out when I was in music, followed by Hey Stupid and The Last Temptation, epic years. And I love that period.
Right.
Um, but it's like, he could have done these songs at, I think either of those two times would have had big hits with these things.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Yeah. I got that vibe as I was listening to it. I'm like, oh, this would have been cool in the 70s, or this would have been a big hit in the 80s, or, yeah. I mean, he kind of touched on all of his careers and all of his sounds throughout the years.
Very much so.
Which is cool. Yeah. That's why I think it's one of those albums like definitely coming full circle from, Love It to Death.
Yeah.
But, well, listen, let's do a couple final thoughts. And, basically, if you guys haven't picked up on it, we like this album.
Very much so. Yeah.
You guys have seen the CD version, you've seen the vinyl version. It's one of those things where I've said myself, I own the vinyl, but I'm like, all right, I need to go pick up that CD because, like Brendon showed us, there's a lot of extras and cool stuff in the CD, the deluxe version, anyways.
Yeah, the box that you guys see behind me, but
Right, because I guess you can just get a standard CD version too, right?
yeah, there's a single disc, and then there's the single disc plus Blu-ray, so two
Right.
disc, and then there's the box set. I like the box set because it came with the Blu-ray separate in its own holder, along with all the other stuff. Whereas you can get a double digipack case that has the.
And I would say for anybody, if you haven't listened to Alice Cooper in a long time, this is probably the album to try to get back into Alice Cooper with, because just everything we've mentioned. You've got Bob Ezrin at the helm. Alice is channeling Detroit and the music of Detroit and the artists and the musicians of Detroit. And, it goes beyond the concept. I mean, this is just an album that's put together really well. And you're going to get repeated listens because you're going to want to listen to it more and more. And like we said, it sort of touches on every era of Alice Cooper. And I just really, really dig this album. And, like Brendon was saying, it kind of shows that Alice Cooper is still relevant. We need it. We need Alice Cooper.
We need Alice Cooper.
Yeah.
It'll be a sad day when there's no more Alice Cooper, but for now, at least 52 years in, he's still doing it. And I agree with you. I like the concept on this. I think it was a cool idea to do. Um, the biggest part of that I like is all the guests. So it
Yes.
wasn't just let's theme it Detroit, let's go to Detroit. He brought in Detroit musicians, and he didn't bring in newer modern day Detroit
Yeah.
musicians. He brought his friends, the guys he played in the clubs. Wayne Kramer, the MC5, is on here. Um, Mark Farner from Grand Funk Railroad is on here. All these different artists that he played with back in the day, he brought on here. So all too often you have the older rocker bringing in the younger musicians to make them hip. And that's not what
Right.
this is. This is a classic record, in my opinion.
Right.
Really, really fun and just great energy on this thing.
Definitely. Yeah, we didn't even talk about the MC5 song. It's called Sister Ann.
Right.
They do a cover of that. So, I mean, that's great. Hey, what I was going to say too, and you had mentioned bringing in younger people. What I like about this album too, I don't believe that there's any duets or anything on this album. There's no other like lead vocalists with him, are there?
Well, not duets, but I mentioned on the song "I Hate You."
Right, he has the other band members singing.
Right.
What I don't like that bands and artists sometimes do is they're like, oh, let me do a duet with Lady Gaga.
Yeah, right.
And I'm like, okay, we know why you're doing that, because you want to tap into the Lady Gaga fan base and you want to make yourself relevant again.
Right.
What I like about this is Alice Cooper doesn't do that.
No, it's still an all Alice record. And even when he does allow someone else to sing on it, it's just the one track.
Yeah.
It's the 4 original guys from the Alice Cooper band.
Right.
So it's like, at first when I heard it, I didn't know, because I'm just listening to it kind of a thing. I had to crack it open and see. I was like, who is singing on this thing?
Right.
And then I'm like, oh God, that is so amazing. One step further again, beyond playing, the guys playing drums, bass, drums, guitar and so forth on it. It's, they were singing on it. And as I mentioned, they collaborated. So this again isn't an Alice or an album that Alice and Bob Ezrin went and wrote and then hired musicians or said, hey, can you guest on this?
Right.
He brought them in. There's full collaboration from these guys on it. And it sounds that way. And I think that's what makes the album so great. It's awesome. Different than Alice's solo band that he's been recording with and that sound of things. And it really, really is a nice throwback to the start of hard rock in the late 60s and early 70s.
Totally agree. And listen, before I get Lady Gaga hate mail,
yeah,
I like Lady Gaga.
She's a Metallica fan.
I don't want to hear Lady Gaga on an Alice Cooper album.
I don't either, but I will say her, not really duet, but guesting with Metallica.
Oh, yeah.
Award shows. I will say this, I do like Lady Gaga. I do not own any albums, but I do like her. I think that she is an amazing artist. And just the song structure and how she does things and so forth. But she is a true metal fan. And did not like some of these other, popular younger artists or celebrities out there that wear the Slayer shirts or the whatever kind of thing. She's actually,
or the Blaze Bayley t-shirts. Yeah.
Well, she's a big Iron Maiden fan.
Oh, okay.
It's like, and she's proved it by going to these concerts. I mean, there's shots. Occasionally, some metal fan will shoot a shot, and she'll be on the side of the stage watching it, kind of a thing. And it takes somebody else pointing it out, kind of a thing. But she's a legitimate metal fan. So, that's cool. I do support her, and as you said, we're not sliding her.
No, not at all.
Just didn't want her on an Alice Cooper record.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
So listen, we're wrapping this up. So again, this is the first episode of CD Vinyl Guys on my channel. But like I said, there's a couple episodes on Brendon's channel. So please head on over to Brendon's channel. Like I said, I left the link below. And we will be doing more collaborations. So anybody, please leave some comments below. Let us know what you want us to discuss. We can discuss anything. Brendon and I have said, we'll talk about music for hours and hours and hours. Tonight going into this, we're like, okay, let's try to limit it to a half an hour. Well, I think we're beyond a half an hour.
Yeah, we broke it a little bit.
But listen, let us know in the comments below what you guys think. We'd love to know your thoughts on Alice Cooper. We'd love to know your thoughts on the new record. What did you get? Did you get the vinyl? Did you get the CD? Did you get both? What do you think? Is there
what's your favorite track?
Yeah, is there anybody who doesn't like the album?
Yeah.
I'm interested to hear that too. And let us know if there's anything you want us to discuss. So Brendon, I don't know if you want to mention anything else before we.
Well, I was just going to throw out there, yeah, there are currently 2 of the CD Vinyl Guy episodes on my channel. There's about to be a 3rd one very shortly.
Oh, awesome.
Those first 2, we did sort of the best 80s hard rock albums by the best 80s hard rock bands, kind of a thing. And so that one was a 2-hour video, and that's why Chris is talking about that. We can literally go on. When we started that, we thought that would be a 30-minute video and went for 2 hours. But there's that one, and then we did a sort of roundtable discussion on all things Kiss. So if you like any of those sort of things, head over to my channel, check those out along with everything else. And certainly we've got this one here. And if you've got future ideas or ideas for future ones, let us know, kind of thing. We are more than happy to accommodate and talk about music.
Definitely. Well, listen, we hope everybody out there has a great evening, great morning, whenever you're watching this, and be on the lookout because the CD Vinyl Guys will be coming to you on YouTube at some point in the future. So thanks again, everybody, for watching.
Yep. Have a good one.
We will see you in the future. All right. Adios.
Bye, everyone.